Hello and welcome guys to what is going to be a deck building video. Well, actually the deck is already pre-made, but hey, there's going to be a lot of really good stuff in here that I will be, and a lot of knowledge that I will be imparting on you to use what is the best PTE deck for sure. Like, I don't think that any others come even close because it just works so damn bloody well. I'm not sure I've had many defeats in it. There are a few strengths and a few weaknesses that of course we will go up and about and stay to the end, because obviously there's a lot of good tactics I'll talk about and how to use this deck in the end. But as you can see, a bit of a spoiler, this is a phenomenal bit of kit, a really fantastic machine that I can't wait to tell you more about, and this is one of the reasons why I love this deck so much. Now, for those of you regulars of my channel, you might know that I used to absolutely hate the MGS. But hey, things have changed, and with the canon update, I actually really love it these days. So I'll get onto that in a bit, but there's a lot of really good stuff going for this deck. And to that purpose, we'll talk all about it. But we're going to start off traditionally, as we do, row by row. Banging music from Broken Arrow, to be fair. Right, so starting off at the top, we do have our classic drone. Every deck has got to have like every American deck has definitely got to have a drone in it. It's 85 points, and you do get 2 Hellfires with it, which are pretty damn useful, especially when you're trying to find that sneaky little recon vehicle hiding somewhere in the flanks or whatever. You can go for Griffin missiles if you wish, but I don't really recommend it because the price difference is negligible, obviously. But the thing is, these do not do top attack, whereas the Hellfires do top attack too. So, you know, if there's a tank, you're going to clap it a lot harder, whereas the Griffin HE will not. Obviously, a bit more effective against vehicles and lightly armored vehicles. But essentially, I do like my Hellfires, so that's how I'm going to run it. I suppose you could actually, yeah, if you wanted to, there you go, have 3 missiles. Wait for this to fire, trigger the APS, then get this one launched. Second, that might be a good option. So, who knows, why don't we just try it out and see how that goes. Actually, I quite like the idea. Obviously, it gives you a bit of extra ammunition when you're dealing with infantry, etc. But only the Hellfires can be laced, so bear that in mind. You do want that filthy top attack, especially against heavily armoured vehicles. Moving on, the Armoured Knight. Now, I will be talking about a lot of changes from vanilla to the PTE, and this deck used to be very decent and very respectable in the vanilla version of the game, but just now I think it's even better, and it has a real huge amount going for it. And one of those things is the Guardian Knight. Now, I did try to experiment with the Mark 19s just so you can drive around like a go-kart and spray people with 40 mil little explosive grenades, but no, you gotta have the 50 just in case a helicopter spots you. It gives you a small but a chance nonetheless to shoot back and clap it. So fingers crossed it works that well. Or fingers crossed you can kill the helicopter. It's unlikely, but you know, sometimes they can be a bit buggy with being directly over you. But the best part about this vehicle is it's now 1.5 stealth. It used to be 0.25, and it might seem like a small difference, but it's actually very noticeable. It does definitely make this a lot more tougher to find. And you know what, with its speed, I've had a lot of fun with it, because you can put this really all the way around the map and put it into the enemy spawn, so like you can get really good vision on enemy plane spawn. And actually what I'll do is I'll put a link of the video where I use this deck extremely well, and yeah, you can see how to use it really well. The scouts. Scouts are just little ambushy guys. Essentially, I'll always use them with the Force Recon, or sometimes, you know, just to support with a bit of AT. They're a very weak squad, otherwise you do just use them for ambush and recon. That's pretty much it. Obviously, the Forcon are very good in the CQB environment. They can be used as a standalone unit, whereas the Scouts are kind of dependent on other stuff. Their role is much better replaced by vehicles like this, you know, for the same sort of price, and like this, because obviously way more vision, and you don't need a transport for it. But they can be really useful in niche situations, but they're rarely used overall. Now, the Striker RV used to be a lot better because it used to have 1.25 stealth, now it's just 1, which means that you used to be able to peek them forward, shoot your javelin, and then basically retreat kind of thing before the enemy tank has got a chance to fire back. But now the aim time of tanks means that this will get hit basically possibly before the javelins even fired. Well, definitely before the javelins reach the target. So yeah, it's not the best idea anymore, which is why I've only got one of these. It's still a decent vehicle, especially if you're doing flanking missions, which I'll talk about in a second because that's what the lab's for. And yeah, it is decent overall. A decent gun. Obviously, javelins are always great to have, and you've got your APS and a good laser designator. But you know, the Armored Knight does the job of the vision very well. So this really only has a purpose for flanky missions and adventures. Now, similarly, is the Lav 25A2. That's what this thing is. It's basically a budget version of this. Obviously, no javelin. Bushmaster is actually kind of inaccurate. Like, it is 5.2 dispersion, 4.5. It seems like a small difference on paper, but it's actually very, very noticeable. It's very inaccurate and very ineffective. But what's great about this vehicle is, again, for its price, has a smoke built in, 1,750 range. So it is a very good, cheap throwaway vehicle. Again, for my flanky missions, which you guys know I do love a good the Lima special, right? Tows, same thing. These are just very, very effective, cheap vehicles they can leave on the side of the map or leave in ambushy positions. And again, for 55 points, you're really trading pretty damn effectively. If you can sneak these into the back line and shoot some Panzers or some tosses or some, you know, some S300s, etc., then it's absolutely worth the risk. It's only 45 points, but if you get this in the back line, you'll be able to spot for yourself and you'll be able to get a couple of frags into the back. This has kept its 1.25 stuff, which is really, really nice, and it is just a very effective vehicle. Again, wouldn't use this on a regular frontline sort of position, but in ambushy positions, side shots, etc., and just to watch the flank, very, very useful. You can have it even cheaper if you'd like, but for the sake of 10 points, I do stick a toe on it. It helps you get rid of some of the abundance of Russian armor that might be coming your way. Very, very good vehicle, worth its price, trades extremely, extremely well. Now, you do want your tows in more or less a pair, obviously, or in pair with another sort of launcher like a javelin. This is, by the way, really nice because it's the 1,500 meter range javelin, which is very, very worth it. And so, yeah, you can't really have it on its own. You do got to pair it with stuff, but otherwise, it's a great vehicle. Last but not least is the Humvee. Just a really good cheap Humvee with the smoke and supplies. So you can use it like a battlefield ambulance because 0.4 tons of supply is actually very good. The best version, yes, let's save that, is actually with the American Airborne here. And yeah, you get a Humvee again with smoke built in, with supply, 25 points. It makes it the perfect little ambulance. So bear that in mind. Obviously, you can't have it in this deck, and we've got other units that fill that gap as well. So anyway, great little Humvee. Would be good to have an extra one or two of these, but I do also have these units which do a similar role. Not as much supply you'll be eager to notice, but also obviously they can get a lot more men in the back of them, which is really important too. So yeah, that is the Recon tab. Let's take a look at the infantry that we've brought across. So overall, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, of course, very silly of me, Scout Snipers, cheapest snipers in the game, very good sneaky beaky stuff, and good for lasering. So yeah, decent. But all honesty, you could potentially remove the snipers and have an extra one of these because, you know, they both work really well in their own respective right. Okay, the infantry. So combat engineers, I used to have one more of these small teams and one less of the combat engineers, but the thing is, combat engineers now are just phenomenally good, very, very effective. So for example, the machine gun is actually what helps it be very, very good, because it is one of the only American engineer teams that has rifles, underbarrels, machine guns, shotguns, and bazookas, making it very, very potent. What's also really good is with those bazookas, same with these guys, to be fair, is the top attack damage. So with the recent buff to bazookas shot from high buildings, high rises get a range of about 400 meters if I'm not mistaken. 9-story buildings, it's 200 if I'm right. And smaller buildings, it's 100 meters. So very, very good range to get your top attack damage with your RPGs. Very impressive. It just means that these can do a lot of damage to T-72s, whereas before they wouldn't have been able to. So they're extra good, especially when you stick them in high buildings. But this is a very, very universal, fantastic squad. 10 armor, 9 men. It makes it very resistant. Like, I had these guys kill 2 teams of GRU, Spetsnaz GRU. And obviously, that's 80 points, killing 240 points worth of units. I mean, just on its own, and it wasn't even that damaged, to be honest. So yeah, very, very fantastic team. I thought I'd bring in an extra bit of javelin. This vehicle is in it just for the javelin. Yeah, obviously it can transport troops, but the whole purpose of it is a javelin. So that's why we've got one of those, and you don't really need much. I mean, we do have an abundance of ATGMs, and that is again just because Russian tactics have become a lot more spammy recently, which is really quite annoying. Troopers are next. Now, Troopers are a decent team. Again, they're a very great all-rounded, and they've recently had a bonus bazooka put in, and as we say, machine guns are more effective these days, so yeah, very good. Only 2 shots with the javelin. Maybe it'd be nice if they got a third, but a very good all-rounder squad. Still the 9-man team, so it does take a bit longer to kill it, but this is your sort of average American infantry team. So, like, you know, a very classic American line infantry squad. It's not great, but it is just... It is a really good all-rounder. And again, if you do get into those high-rise buildings, you are going to be shooting top-down attack at 400 meters, and that can be absolutely devastating. Very good squad. You do need 3 of them just because javelin's not that much ammo, but obviously if you got 3 of these deployed, that's 6 javs firing at the same time, which does make it an absolute nightmare for the enemy. Now, of course, only 2 shots, but if you bring them in these vehicles, or you know, this one for example, and you leave it behind the building, they are going to be recharging their ammo with it. It is a little bit expensive on the supply. Let's just see, supply weight 150 kilos. So yeah, you do need something like a Humvee to recharge both shells, because that is 300.3 tons of supply, and this has got 0.4. So yeah, you definitely need those vehicles. Maybe I should really stick an extra one of these in, but it does work pretty fairly well, even with just these guys behind, just to give it one extra shot. And ultimately, you know, jump them back in the vehicle, drive them to supply, and or just run them back into supply. There is plenty of supply vehicles in this deck, and recharge your stuff. But you want these guys constantly rearmed. That is definitely one of the essential things about troopers. Now, Marines. This is one of the saddest parts of the video, because Marines have been nerfed indirectly, and the indirectness is the fact that the machine guns are so much better, and I find that a lot, or just way less people are using these. No one's using the reserves either, to be honest. I haven't seen that at all. I can't believe that this rifle is 600 meters, by the way. I know it's like got a long barrel and everything, but how the hell it fires 600 meters or consistently hits at 600 meters is beyond me, because I'm a pretty good shot. I actually, in the academy, in the officer academy, I was actually top shot of my course, so I was the most accurate marksman. There you go, fun fact, but I have no idea how on earth you can fire at 600 meters, like even 300 or 400 meters. Okay, fair enough, they've got a decent scope on it, but the targets can get quite hard to hit at that range. Cool, anyway, Marines have become a bit more pathetic. They've been nerfed because of their machine gun, and they've also, like, yeah, the rifle shoots further than this M320. Okay, a bit weird. And big squads take more damage relatively these days, so they're just not as effective as they used to be. AT4s are obviously okay. Very middle of the run. Much better in higher buildings, that's for sure. So yeah, there we go. Smalls, like I said, I used to have more of them. They were great for dealing with IFV spam, really great. That's why I had 3 of those squads, because those bazookas would do a lot of damage to IFVs. But the problem is, Russian players aren't spamming IFVs out as much anymore, and that's because obviously the tanks can 2-shot them, which is very fair, and I'm glad of those changes, but there we go. They've lost a bit of their purpose. They really don't do much for me anymore because infantry, these guys take care of really well. These were good at taking care of infantry and vehicles, but I've got other things to take care of vehicles, so I still keep them in there, maybe from memories or whatever, but they're not that essential to my deck. We've got the two ACVs, as we've mentioned. This one's just with a 50, and these ones are with the Bushmaster. Really good vehicle, especially, like we keep saying, in the flanky stuff, in the convoy stuff. You just get a lot of men in there, so a trooper squad, maybe a sniper to drop off along the route somewhere. Yeah, really, really good vehicle. Troopers AA. So they've got the M240, nice machine gun, and a Stinger. It's the only unit in here that does have a Stinger, but it's pretty decent. I mean, it is what it is. You get 6 shots, it's a decent amount of ammo, decent sized squad. Not great range, but there we go. It's alright overall. Well, either way, you do have to have a Stinger Verba Igla team in your deck somewhere anyway, so these guys give you a nice bit of extra fire support, and again, they take a lot more damage against, you know, helicopters trying to shoot you, etc. So yeah, really not a bad squad. Now, the Cat Dragon, so the Marines with the ATGM. Now, this actually works really, really well for many reasons. There is no point upgrading it to the Javelin anymore, so don't do this. Even though you do get an extra 2 health, which is important, but in the grand scale of things, you don't really want these guys to be within range of stuff hurting you. Now, my favorite aspect of these guys is the fact that the Dragon 3 has had its range increase. I never used to like the squad because of how pathetic the range was. It was only like 800 meters, but now that it's increased by 300, it really makes these guys actually quite competent, which is a really, really nice feature. They do really good, respectable penetration and especially damage to vehicles. So again, especially if there are IFE spams, then these guys are great. You still get your top attack. It's not a top attack weapon, but if you do put it in a high building, you will get your top attack. A high rise, you will get your top attack bonus. So yeah, very devastating, and it is great that it fires 2 missiles. Yeah, worth it just for that. This squad is also really good because obviously it's got a 58-man squad. It's just a tough fire support group, pretty useful in supporting all of these guys in general, to be honest. So very good squad. I wouldn't recommend updating it. The only squad that I haven't taken out of my options is the Cats to, well, the TOW basically, and I really don't see a purpose. We've established that TOWs on their own are pretty pathetic. You do need a couple of them, and I just don't see the point. Like, I'd rather Javelin than these guys, even though you can upgrade it to overfly attack, which basically makes it a Javelin. I still just don't really see the point of those guys, and they didn't used to get the upgrade, but now they also get the upgrade to health as well, which is nice, but I'd rather stick to this team any day of the week. And obviously, yeah, 50 cal is a nice thing to just keep chipping away at infantry that can't even shoot back at you. Green Raiders. Alright. This is a very juicy squad. Everybody loves the squad, but people used to really love them in the CQB environment. Now, this is great, but I was never really a fan, which is quite interesting. I've always quite liked them in the standoff edition. The problem was that it used to cost 120 points for Marine Raiders standoff, and I thought it was a bit too expensive for what they bring to the table. However, not only is the price cheaper, but the machine guns are way more effective. The marksman rifles are way more effective, and you get a Morse. So the Morse has always been great, but 600 penetration, 8.5 damage, very, very good, capable weapon. Definitely got a lot of time for it. And just having these guys isn't essentially, like, it's not necessary, it's not essential, but having them in your deck can be really useful in a few situations, just especially if you're dealing with hordes and hordes of infantry. That's where you, yeah, put up well with these, because again, Russia does usually tend to go for more armor and more tanks in general, so having extra AT bazookas is very, very useful indeed. Now, I've got one of these AAVPs, not actually my preferred method of transporting troops. I do have it just because it is very situationally decent. It can be very, very good in some very specific scenarios, but otherwise I don't really use it much at all, really. You can, of course, fit in these guys with a 4-con CQB, which is a really, really nice combo. So these two squads together will fit into the back of one of these, or, of course, it'll fit into the back of one of these, which is my main troop transporter, the Hemmet. Can bring in 27 men. That's quite a lot of infantry on the field and a lot of firepower. So, yeah, these guys can comfortably fit into here, for instance, or this as well if you need this in the very specific situation that you need it. But otherwise, all of these infantry are usually brought in by Hemmets. Again, when you need that firepower and that ammo slash healing ability of these vehicles, then you got to bring them in as well. But otherwise, IFVs aren't really used that often by myself. Let's move on to the vehicles, because this is where I really do love this deck. There's so much going for it. We'll talk about the striker last. Oh no, okay, fine. First, it is fantastic. I used to hate it because its gun is weak. It is very, very weak, especially against frontal armor. It cannot beat, or it can barely penetrate a T80 from the Gods deck. But that's not a worry, because if you sideshot this thing, if you get a sideshot off with this thing, which is what it's designed for, which is what the Striker family is designed for, and what this deck is excellent for. As you see, there's a lot of fast-moving vehicles, like the Striker Sure Ride, like there's your Recon vehicle. There's a lot of fast-moving vehicles, so if you get these bad boys out, you're going to do a lot of damage, especially in the early game, where you're expecting Russia to have light vehicles, like the BTRs. You can just absolutely clap them away. And they're perfect. That is exactly what they're perfect for. Early game openers and flanking action. Because if you get, 125 points, that's so dirt cheap. That is cheaper than troopers or combat engineers and their transport put together. So you're really bringing a lot of firepower for one of the cheapest prices. This is definitely the best bang for your buck vehicle in the game. Honestly, definitely. And you also get APS and a smoke. Now, I used to run it even cheaper, so 100 points with the extra armor. But the problem is you only do have one smoke, unlike most tanks in the game. So this does just really help make it a lot more survivable. And I do think it is quite useful. Think about it this way. For the sake of one of these, would you rather have 3 of these? Or for close to the similar price? I'd say yeah. I'd take 3 of these over one of these any day. And the thing is, Russia's got a lot of tanks like, well, the Sprut, for example, and this is just so good at dealing with the Sprut. It works, it's the perfect counter. So there we go. There's my obsession with the Striker MGS. Now, we do have some regular armor. This is it. Obviously a very beefy tank with a beefy cannon. So when our martyrs come to the field, I'll try to use Mavericks, but if I have to use ground vehicles, it'll be this. Or Javelins, by the way. I'm not really... This isn't a tank-on-tank engagement kind of deck, but if you just need a bit of extra firepower, a good HE shell, good amount of machine guns, then this is your boy. This is the same version, just a cheaper version that's slightly less powerful. But the great thing about these things is the 30% ECM, which works really, really well. It basically means that the first semi-active, or to be honest, most first shots, even Hellfires, are very, very likely to miss. Well, I think it's basically the first shot is almost 100% guaranteed to miss, even though it's 30%. And it just works great. It works really, really great. Yeah, you've got 2 smokes, so... You know, once the ECM sort of fades off and stuff starts hitting it, all you do is just smoke out and go away. Especially with the nerf in the availability of ATGMs for both sides, these just work even better now. You don't have to worry about the VDV Cornet spam or anything like that. You have a good time with both of these tanks. Now, they are a bit slow, and what's good is, again, these are rapid, so you just wait for these to arrive and back you up. I am wondering if it's probably worth me just taking these out and just having more Striker MGSs, because again, they just do work so well, especially when you have an abundance of the numbers. And yeah, the FEPs will do the FEP stuff. Yeah, that's what we'll actually do. This is going to be a very, very good change. Yeah, Christ, I'll take 6 Striker MGSs any day. And then we can have another little ambulance and another ATGM. Yeah, this is way more perfect now this way. I'd highly recommend that. Now, the Bookers, you might have thought that it is dead, but no, it is actually still very competent and useful in the game. 2 APSs, 2 smokes, very good, but the best thing about it is the 50mm cannon. Nobody ever should, in the right mind, use the 105. Absolutely not. Very, very pointless use of resources, even though it does give it a unicorn wire cutter, which makes it look pretty good, but no, just use the 50. The best part about the 50 is not only going to do a lot of damage to light vehicles, like again, IFV spam, it's really good at defeating it. It can obviously do a huge amount of damage to the side of tanks, but its best feature is actually ripping apart helicopters on the front line. It works really, really exceptionally well for that role. And it's just really damn good at doing its job. So I do really love these guys. Still very useful. Obviously, you can't expect to spam them out and win. That is a thing of the past. They will still take 2 shots to kill from basically any Russian tank. Literally any Russian tank, it's a 2-shot kill. But there's a lot of fun to be had with this, and again, if you do manage to sneak it into really cheeky positions, you can rip apart a lot of units, so very, very good vehicle. Now, there are some honorable mentions. By the way, for this tow, you really don't need it, because obviously your vision, you can't spot for yourself, and it does have more ammunition than those Jeep tows, and I suppose it does have the anti-infantry tow missile, but there's only 4 of them. It's really not as great as I would have hoped. So I don't really bother with these guys. Same with the battleship. It's just way too fragile to be used for anything these days, to be honest. And for a similar price, I'd rather 2 of the Scouty tows. The other thing is with these guys is, what I don't like about them is, yeah, not being able to spot for yourself. Like, I do know they can take a hit, unlike this IFAV, but yeah, it's just not worth it. By the way, very cool looking vehicle. It is based off a Mercedes Jeep, if you didn't know that, so yeah, very good. The only thing that I still love it because it's an absolute meme. It is a great unit, but it's just not necessary anymore, and that is because I've got an abundance of other stuff to do what its job used to do. Its job used to be one-shotting lightly armored vehicles, which it did comfortably. It can also kill tanks, by the way. Side armor easily can kill tanks. But its function was basically taking out infantry, because this could take actually quite a few hits from tanks, and you've got your 2 smokes. You could go in, fire these, smoke out again, and keep retreating. But now with the 2-shot system, you used to be able to take about 4 shots with this thing. Now with the 2-shot system, this is just everything goes through it like a knife through hot butter. Yeah, and a hot knife through butter, or a cold knife through hot butter. It'll be the same effect. Yeah, it's just really not worth it. It's paper thin. Everything goes through it to the point that it's not really worth bringing to the field at all anymore. But otherwise, honestly, it's not a hugely wide selection of tanks. But these are, trust me, the only tanks you need. Pack mentality, Wolfpack mentality of the strikers is 100% the way to go. Like I say, very good amount of firepower, and if you get stuck against an Armata, don't use these. You're going to be using Mavericks anyway, so yeah, pro tip there, run. Very, very amazing vehicles. Like I said, I love these, especially for the flank and the early opener. Now I'll talk to you about the Sport tab, and I'll tell you about a unit that I've recently loved even more, the C-Ram. Obviously, one of the best things at intercepting seed missiles, and I've actually got 3 of them. For multiple reasons. One is obviously protecting packs and intercepting missiles, so protecting your pack. Another reason is to protect your teammate's pack, because for 90 points, you're going to make the pack way more survivable, and it can continue happily shooting whilst the Russians spam out air. A third reason, and this is why I've got 3 of these, is because it's actually really not that bad against firing at infantry. I mean, it's got a 1,000-meter range across the ground, and you can just pepper light vehicles and infantry with it, making it pretty damn effective. It can obviously do a little bit of damage to helicopters. It's not great, but if you get close enough, you will rip apart a helicopter, which is pretty nice too. I used to run this as the C-Ram, not the Charlie Ram. And the C-Ram I just thought was always underperforming. Very lackluster performance. it was way too easy to kill with seed, and it just didn't really tickle my pickle at all. I actually kind of hated it. It was also way too expensive for what it was capable of. So CRAM is 100% the way forward, I think. It does a great job of protecting your pack, and the only reason I lost my pack was because of RT, not because of enemy aircraft action. So there we go. Pro tip. These are great, and like I said, I brought a spare one just to help my teammates out and put this in front of a teammate's pack to, again, keep it up and alive in the game a lot longer. Helmet. Yeah, we've talked about the helmet. Lots of troops, lots of supply. Great vehicle. HIMARS. Now, HIMARS does actually annoy me a bit because these missiles are super ineffective. I don't think there's any point bringing them really. But you can get some use out of these if you use it, you know, to the best of its abilities. They're not very good, and the dispersion is huge, so you don't expect to hit much. But if you do get laser guidance on targets, you might be able to kill it, especially, you know, backline stuff standing still. It can be quite good for that, only if you have lasers though, which is why I've got an abundance of them up in here. Abundance of lasers, just so that the HIMARS can actually kill something. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't think the damage is that good. Even if it gets hits a tank, it's not that great, the amount of damage it does. And obviously not that much ammunition. But the way to use MLRS in this game these days is to spawn it, fire, RTB. That is the best way to use them. I wouldn't stick around to rearm them, even if the HIMARS is the fastest thing to rearm itself. Moving on, pack 3, MSE. You must have it upgraded so that it targets 3 things and fires 2 missiles at a time. This is one of the best things at shooting down enemy aircraft. Obviously terminal guidance. Now the pack 2 that everybody used to love is now a bit pointless, to be honest. It doesn't one-shot, it's semi-active so it doesn't track, and its range really isn't that impressive. See, the range is 200 meters, which I think is a joke, by the way. I really don't like how AA is, but the pack 3 MSE has always been one of the best AA in the game. And again, if you stick a CRAM in front of it, you don't really have to switch your radar off, and it just works incredibly, incredibly well. I'm honestly very happy with this combination. And again, you keep this radar on for the whole game, and it will just shoot down so many seed missiles and waste Russia's supply of seed missiles before it gets towards your Patriots, etc. Now we've got a Cat Fey, and all praise the almighty Cat Fey. Obviously good firepower against infantry, but its main party trick is firing 21 big boom booms at enemy. And this is especially useful, a bit like the HIMARS as well, to be fair. So this is more for backline laser guided stuff, and this is for taking out the mass spam of the horde of Russian infantry coming towards you, because it does happen. It happens quite a lot, and I don't like the spammy tactics. And here we go. Here's the best thing to deal with it. Just delete an entire grid square. Decent range, but you do have to hide it still. Works fantastically well. Here's our Shorad, the Striker, one of the best Shorads in the game. Now, the reason I would honestly prefer to have this as 2 Stinger Pods, because it is way, way more effective at shooting down enemy helicopters and aircraft. But I do have to put the Hellfires on it for the simple reason that I use these a lot in my flanky stuff. When I go flanky with the Strikers, then I'm short on Javelins. And Striker Shorad really helps fill that gap, because obviously the Hellfires can damage vehicles, and they do a lot of damage if they do hit, more than the Javelins. And essentially, obviously, having this as a dual use really, really does help you out. It makes it a lot more your little flanky column a lot more survivable, because obviously you can wipe out vehicles with this as well. And that's the only reason I have it with the Hellfires. Otherwise, I would really love to use it if this was a different deck. I'd really prefer to use it like this, but like I say, in this situation, for an extra 20 points, get yourself some anti-tank missiles and help rip enemy tanks apart. Because these are cheap and you spam them out, but ultimately sometimes you face an Armata, and if this runs into an Armata, smoke, run is the name of the game. Cool, we do have some more smoke units, and that comes in the form of the Lavam, nice and cheap. Keep spamming the smoke out, and also you can obviously auto-target infantry, which is really nice. I don't think that feature works that well, but you know, it's a nice feature to have. It just prevents your expensive enemy infantry from standing still. It's a good little harassment tool. The smoke is very fantastic because obviously not only does it help you advance and attack the enemy position, but also it provides a really good defense mechanism. So obviously this deck does struggle against heavy tanks, but what you do is if you put a line of smoke just behind the objective or just basically in front of the tanks at about roughly, you know, the 1,000-meter range, then you're going to deny the enemy from using its tanks and its helicopters potentially against your units, which is really, really fantastic. And it just protects your attacking force in storming that position. So having a couple of these is really, really useful. They work fantastically well. Right, I'm starting to feel my voice get sore. But hey, this is all for you guys. I really do hope this helps you play better at the game and you get better ideas for how to make your decks. Osprey has always been a legend. Great helicopter. I mean, amazing engineering, and it can transport quite a lot of people and cargo very, very quick. It is a rapid beast. I love it. But I don't use it that much just because obviously if people see where your helicopter lands, and it is usually quite easy to spot helicopters and where they land, you're going to get RT on that supply, and yeah, it's just not really worth it. Good for early game stuff, and good if you want to flank or for specific maps like Baltisk and you want to take the islands, then that's why I keep this thing around, but otherwise I don't use it that much. The Venom is perfect, really a perfect transport helicopter, because not only can it take 9 men, so a trooper squad in it, or a small recon team with snipers, but also it's just so cheap. So cheap for the amount of firepower that you get. And as an early unit, if you drop stuff off and try and hit backline stuff with it, you're going to do really well, because this just works very, very well for, especially for its price. Right, we do have the Super Cobra and the Viper. Now, they have to sort of work in a 4, more or less. I wouldn't expect to succeed with just 2 of them, but they do their job really well. And their whole job is being Sidewinder helicopters and anti-seed helicopters. So anti-seed, the whole point is that you keep this outside of the Panzer range and you just keep harassing, like literally put it on a supply, it'll go up, fire, go down. And you just keep it like at about 3 kilometers away from the nearest AA that you might think of, and just keep harassing and making the Russians run out of ammunition. And it's literally what this is for. Obviously, if there's a heli push, these are really good support. Very dirt cheap helicopter. There's really, really good at distracting the shore ride and making the other helicopters, so like the Apaches that your teammates might bring, a lot more survivable. It gives the Apaches, the Hellfires, the time to fire at the enemy infantry whilst this, whilst their Hellfires finish the job, the sidearms distract them. So very, very good. Zunis, not great, but they're pretty damn decent rockets, and they do a lot of damage when they do hit. So very good for harassing. The Viper, yeah, again, Sidewinders. 2 of these will shoot down a plane, because obviously they fire their missiles at extremely close range compared to planes. And yeah, they do work really well. If 2 of these take out an Su-35 and 1 survives, you've made a big profit. So that people don't really expect them, and the shot factor is kind of the thing that makes them, which is really nice. Ace of Spades as trumps, nice. Cool artwork, and I actually really like it in this Vietnam sort of paint scheme. Really cool stuff. So there we go, there's the helicopter tab explained. And now, by the way, the alternatives, I forgot to talk about the alternatives. You don't need these transports, they're slow. They can take a lot of cargo, but yeah, you just take the Osprey any day. What you can do is cut the transport helis, should you wish, and stick in more Sidewinders. I'd recommend it, because it is basically a much, much better version of the Killer Egg. Aircraft then. Okay, so this aircraft tab is interesting, because it just works well. It's not what you expect, and it's not what you probably like to see in vanilla. And indeed, in vanilla, I used a very, very different deck combination as compared to here. We'll start off with the cruise missile spammer. Now, I don't like this tactic at all. I actually kind of hate it, but it does work. Having 20 cruise missiles firing, it just does work really, really effectively, unfortunately. And we're seeing, well, we haven't seen a reduction in MLRS or RT or cruise missile spam, and it is here to stay. So, you know, if you can't beat it, if you can't beat him, join him, and that's what I'm doing here. I don't like, I wish that I could use other planes instead, but this is just the meta. It is very, very effective, so yeah, that's what we're going with. It doesn't matter that I'm using the cheaper missiles here. There's barely any difference in them, and if you get a direct hit, it's going to be a kill regardless. So yeah, no difference. I'd use the cheaper ones here if I could as well. Yeah, so that's the B-52 for you. Like I say, it's a bit of a disgusting tactic, but it does work really effectively. It works super effectively when paired up with the CJ. Now, I could use the Prowler, but I definitely won't. It is obviously 60 points cheaper, which in the grand scale of things isn't that much. But obviously what's great is the fact that you can go low with afterburners, go in and out. Smash and dash is the name of the game, and the AMRAAMs can obviously help shoot down the abundance of Russian planes that we do tend to see these games. But the superiority fighter, which is not superior to anything in any way, shape, or form, the way it's superior is because it's so goddamn dirt cheap, and this price tag is nothing to laugh at, because for 6 AMRAAMs, 165 points, this will always trade exceptionally well against Russian planes. It's not going to keep it well out of range of long-range AA, it's never going to get shot by that, and yeah, just keep it hovering around and shooting at Russian planes. Even if it gets shot down, which it probably will most of the time, it just trades fantastically well. I couldn't recommend this plane enough. I was a bit skeptical at first when I saw people using it, but it just works great. I would say consider putting ECMs on and taking one set of missiles away, because it might not actually fire that set of missiles, but more missiles is nice to have, especially when the enemy's a bit short on fighters. But yeah, these all complement each other really well. And it complements the F-18 really well as well, which has got the Mavericks on it. You might be surprised to see it on this, not on this Harrier or this Harrier with the Seed. But honestly, again, afterburning has such a big advantage because you can afterburn and hopefully GTFO alive. That music go, bang it. Sidewinders also, because you're going in nice and close, and the chances are you're going to meet a helicopter, so that's where the Sidewinders excel in just giving that little bit of a boost. Like, Sidewinders never used to be used on this. You know, for example, if you're doing fire bombs or whatever, or cluster strikes, but now that you're going in directly at the enemy, balls deep, they just work really well, and I've had quite a lot of success at, you know, they fired their missiles, the enemy's low on AA or the Seed is up, and you just harass with the gun, with the Sidewinders. Mi-28s and very expensive helicopters that you can't deal with using Stingers, because as we know, Stingers are very pathetic against Russian helicopters. So yeah, all these combined, they make a fantastic team. I really can't recommend it enough. It works so goddamn well that you are just going to be in the winners league if you use this combination of aircraft. Like, it's just really hard to play against. Again, when this respawns in 5 minutes, you've constantly got a dirt cheap superiority fighter up, which always goes low altitude, and you just have a really good time. It's got pretty good, well, the vision is the max vision, unlike on this, so you're having a laugh, you're having a really good time with this thing. I honestly, I can't cream my knickers enough about how good this is. Now, there's other honorable mentions. We've talked about the F-18C, so the fighter version. People have been raving about it, and that's because it's got the gunslinger. So for 9-kilometer range, so there we go, if we do it like this, for having 2 9-kilometer range missiles, sorry, 2 sets of 9K missiles, it is a very good price. But again, I just don't really like this plane at all. I've never really liked it. I don't like that it's slow for a fighter as well, and it just doesn't really do it for me. I would much rather have 2 of these any day, knowing full well that this will get shot down. Because the thing is, this gets shot down as well, but see, you're feeding a lot less points to the enemy. You can have a cheap fighter here too, so I'll quickly show you a really good way to set this up, should you wish to do so. Yeah, there we go, bang, 200 points. If you stick some ECM on it, 230. I wouldn't go for the ECM, I think it's too expensive. But you still get a good rapid afterburner fighter, you know, to chase down bombers and stuff like that. This is a good option too. Viper can be a good fighter, or the most commonly used way is with J-Saws to take out a cluster of Russian tanks. But I do find, obviously, in the higher elos, people tend to clump their tanks less together, making this a bit harder to trade effectively with, because, again, it will get shot down because of how close you have to drop the J-Saws. Yeah, it's good, but I don't think it's worth it. But bear in mind, if you do kill 2 tanks, you're going to be probably more than 400 points, right? 2 T80s with APS, that's 500 points. So you will trade usually well, but bear in mind, you have to hit to start with, and they have to be in a clump for that to be effective. F-35, I really don't think it has a place in the, a good use in the game anymore. I've seen a massive reduction in its use because it does just get shot down, and it is quite expensive. 1,000 pounders, I think they're underwhelming, and yeah, Stormbreakers, they're still decent, Stormbreakers, but the thing is, it's there for taking out backline RT, MLRS, and AA, and to do that, you have to go really deep, and even with the stealth coating, it is going to get spotted by the abundance of fighters that Russia now has to use. And when it gets spotted, it means that it's going to get shot down. So it's really not as effective as it used to be. And I just don't really recommend it. You can have one of these as a decoy or paradrop plane if you wish, but it's got no ECM. It will waste probably 3 missiles, but it's still quite an expensive decoy. The best decoy is the Baltics paradrop plane because it's 80 points, it's the same health, and it does have ECM. So it makes it a lot better for that purpose, or of course the Special Forces version of this, or the C-17, but again, starts to get a bit expensive, so there you go. Right, this deck is absolutely perfect. Again, the air power combination, in isolation they still work pretty damn good, but in combination they are fantastic. I actually prefer playing with this deck than with Russia, which, as you guys know, I used to prefer Guards VDV all day, every day, but now I really love this deck. I used to really like it in vanilla, but it's even better in PTE. Helicopters, a bit weak, but they're cheap, so they're good at harassing. Don't expect to win with the helicopters, but hey, in this day and age, helicopters aren't really a big thing for America, like the Guardian used to be. It's really not worth it. And again, your support is fantastic, armor is fantastic, infantry is a great, unbelievably good. Almost as good as Special Forces. I'd compare these guys as the second best infantry behind SF. Combat engineers definitely help with that fact. You got your Falcon, you got all these guys. Just a lot to choose from. A lot of great units to choose from. If I could change the deck up, I'd probably get a few extra of these guys again just to harass the enemy, put them in ambush positions, try and sneak around the back, etc. And I'd potentially get another drone. But here we are. That's how we've set it up. I hope this deck really helps you, and I hope my explanations help you understand the mechanics and play the game a lot better. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely comment if you think I've missed something, or if there's better uses for the deck. But otherwise, the link and the deck file will be on my Discord, which is linked below in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.